for your time. So the fact that we are still talking about security, general election, this is not the first time. We keep having this after every 5 years. What are your thoughts in terms of how the country is dealing with election?
I think we are not doing the right thing, because this is not the first time we're talking about issues of security when it comes to elections. We started having trouble in 1992. And the current hotspots that we've been told are hotspots are the same.
Have always been hotspots.
Have always been hotspots. So what are we not doing right? Are we talking about the security agencies that are not prepared? Or are we talking about citizens that are always out to cause trouble during elections?
Which is it?
So we need to look at it very closely and decide what we need to do. Because always whenever we have elections in Kenya, there's violence. And what instigates this violence? We look at it from four angles. Number one, it might be the state in conflict with the voters. The voters do not agree with the state. Okay. And they say, we believe these votes were stolen, like 2007. There might be a case, the second case is that where we have the voters against the state. Mm-hmm. And then we have the people that are vying for these seats against each other, or we have a combination of four. So unless we focus on this and decide or find out why we always have violence during elections in this country, then we are not going to have a solution to this. Because every year we are talking about security during elections. We are not even supposed to be having this conversation.
No.
Elections are supposed to be peaceful, because this is the way people elect their leaders. And when there are no elections, automatically you expect violence.
It's supposed to be a democratic process.
It's supposed to be
very peaceful.
Yes, but it's not happening in Kenya. And okay. The reason why I believe that we've made these elections a zero-sum game. We are being told we are either in government or out. Already people are saying that you go for the governorship. If you fail, we'll give you a state job.
We'll give you something.
We'll give you something. So what about the others? So the others will feel left out. Mm. And this is why you'll find that we've now been balkanized into tribal groups, and we are ready to face each other. Linda, this should not be the case. We are supposed to have issue-based politics, but that is not happening in Kenya.
That is going to take a while before we have issue-based politics. What then is the role of politicians in the security of the country as we head towards the general election? Because like you say, the problem in Kenya may be stemming from tribal politics, but then you have political leaders going for political rallies, and they end up speaking in their mother tongue, and they end up rallying their people and saying, this is probably our time. How then do we resolve this?
This is where the National Cohesion and Integration Commission is supposed to come in. And in fact, after 2007, we came up with this commission. But so far, we've not seen them doing anything. People have been inciting violence. People have been abusing others in these rallies. But so far, nobody has been arrested and arraigned in court and charged and got convicted.
Would that make a difference?
So there is no lesson being learned from this. We are always being told, like now we are assembling policemen. We've said that for the first time, we've seen policemen being trained on dealing with election violence and election offenses. But is it going to work for us? I don't believe it's going to work for us unless we address the core issue here, which is tribalism.
Let's talk about this training that apparently policemen went through. What sort of training do you think they should be given, they should be having at a time like now?
This training involved having people from different security agencies being trained on how to work together, how to respond to cases of violence in these identified hotspots. And I think this is a nice thing to do, because in 2007, we had police that were divided. And at one point, you'll find that people are saying that the administration police were being used to cause violence or to rig the elections. You saw what happened. And this time round, they want to have one team that will be coordinated from a central point. So that
from all sections, and that's where they work together.
So that they work together, a multi-agency team. As opposed to those other years where we used to deploy the administration police under a different command, we used to deploy the Kenya police under their own command, all that, it was not working. What
sort of difference do you think that will make now when you have all these sections coming together and going through this training? How much of a difference do you think that will make?
It will make a difference, because at the end of the day, we will see an effective reaction in case of violence.
That is assuming we know the kind of training they went through.
That is assuming we know the kind of training we went through. But from sources, I think that training was good for them, because right now they'll be able to respond as a team, as opposed to responding as different units from under different commands. But what I'm saying here is that if you look very closely, as much as we're training these police officers, what is the problem? What leads to violence?
How do we get there in the first place?
How do we get there in the first place? We're not supposed to be talking about this. I think we should have learned our lessons from 1992 to 2007.
And surely if we didn't learn anything in 2007.
If we didn't learn anything in 2007 and still talking the same language now, then we're in trouble as a country.
Let's talk a little bit about the curfew that was imposed in certain regions. And you know, NASA leaders have raised a little bit of a concern over it, saying it's a ploy by the government to ensure that people don't come out to vote. What are your thoughts? Are we politicizing a security issue?
I think we are trying to politicalize a security issue, because there are very good reasons why Lamu was put under curfew. And you see Lamu, Tana River and Garissa are neighbors. And all these are based in an area that borders the Boni Forest. So I believe we should not politicalize security issues, because we need security for people to vote. So when we are having elections and then people are being hit by the Al-Shabaab, what do you expect? So I believe it was good, but you've heard the president saying that he is lifting these curfews. So probably it was a political move. But I think from a security angle, there are reasons why areas are put under curfew. And they are supposed to achieve certain security
The concern
missions.
is that this curfew is being put, about 2 weeks to the general election, and that is why probably NASA leaders are raising their concern.
But there was a security situation there, Linda.
Yes, we all know, yes.
We all know there was a security situation. And NASA, let's not look at this thing politically. Let's look at the security of the people. We need people safe so that they can go out and vote. But basing on those areas, because you'll find that we've been having curfews, my question is, are they effective?
Yeah, because that is what I was going to ask. How effective are they?
Lamu was under curfew when Peketoni, when Pandango police station was attacked. It was under curfew. So are these curfews effective as a security measure? That is the question we're supposed to be asking ourselves, not why do we need to have curfews.
Okay, so let's look at the numbers. We have 12 days to the election. In terms of the numbers of security personnel who are handling the security in the country, if you were to give a scorecard, how prepared are they?
We don't have numbers, Linda.
What do you mean you don't have numbers? The president the other day said we
in a very good situation. In a very good situation, we don't need to bring in prison warders to do police work. We don't need to bring in forest rangers to do police work. But let us agree that our forces, our police is overstretched. This is why now they need support from other security agencies. But in a very good scenario, we need police to do police work. So
the fact that we're even bringing in prison warders is a problem?
The fact that we're even bringing in prison warders is a problem.
Okay.
Because for how long are we going to have them there? They also have their other core duties that they need to go.
And then the question is, how much training have they received in terms of
how to handle electoral violence? And you see, police work is different from taking care of prisoners. You see, so they're going to have trouble. In case we have a case of violence, how are they going to deal with this? And I think that is why they had to be taken to Embakasi for that particular training. But if you look at the resources that we deploy, I think all these years we've been overstretching. We've been overstretching our security agencies, because you'll find that right now, even during these campaigns, you'll hear that other cases of violence, other cases of crime have increased, because we've moved police from policing. And we've put them
we are now putting them to focus on
the elections.
Okay, so I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot. Adopt a polling station. That plan by NASA to have some of the people basically just man polling stations. Of course, Acting Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i has said that is not going to happen. They will only allow people who are supposed to be there as per the regulations of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. In terms of security, what are your thoughts on that?
I think that is going to cause trouble, because already NASA are determined to do it. And if there's any conflicting view to that, unless they agree, because this is something that IEBC is supposed to take care of. They're supposed to bring in these parties, sit them down and tell them, look here, they're actually meeting. These are what the rules say. We don't need to have people. But NASA is saying they're not going to take any other person to the polling stations. They're going to put agents there, because NASA is a coalition of around 5 parties. So they're going to have 5 different people going in and acting as their agents. And if that is the case, then the law allows them to do that. But if it's otherwise, then definitely Matiang'i will have to take action, because when you have people hovering around a polling station, at the slightest provocation, we're going to light fires. And this is not what we want as a country. Already, the international community is sending out advisories to their people not to work. It's affecting businesses. And I think this is not right for this country.
Okay. So from a security perspective, when you have people who are at a polling station who are not supposed to be there, it's a recipe for disaster?
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. And it's important for Kenyans to know that your responsibility as a citizen is to go and cast your vote. Once you've done that, leave the rest to the officials that have been appointed constitutionally to deal with that. Because we'll have policemen there, we'll have IEBC officials there, you'll have your poll agents. So go home and wait for the results. But in Kenya, I'm seeing trouble coming in because already people have been incited. People have already been told that these elections are going to be stolen. And
so we have to protect our vote.
And we have to protect our vote. And I think this is exactly what has been happening in the previous years. And we don't expect anything different this time round. Though the state of preparedness on the side of the police is a little bit, let me say, I've seen improvement on that. But it does not mean that it will stop violence. Because the moment people have decided to go violent, nothing will stop them.
Okay, to be fair, if I let you go without asking this question, we have 12 days to the election. Essentially, what should be put in place now in terms of security? What should already be in place?
Already we've seen that the police have already been trained. What we expect now in the next few days is to see deployment now of these officers to their respective stations where they're expected to perform their duties. We expect now every other day periodical statements from the police telling us exactly how the state of the nation is in terms of security. Apart from now seeing these new trucks that were brought in being deployed to these hotspots, we're also supposed to monitor what is happening because definitely when it comes to voting, there are 5 things that happen. Number 1, there is identity crisis, which we are already facing. What do I call identity crisis? People are already moving from areas because they don't identify with that particular group.
Which is very unfortunate.
Which is very unfortunate. People are moving to safer areas where they feel like now we will be more accepted here. And in doing that, they will not vote.
Okay.
From there, we have the campaign conflict. We've seen campaigns that have gone violent. And then from there, we'll go to balloting. People will want to vote. And if anything comes between them and that voting, definitely you'll expect violence. And then we have results. If these results come and people don't accept them, then we know what will happen. And finally, representation, where we've said that it's zero-sum. You are either in or out. That is where we're headed to.
Okay, we need to have more of this conversation, George, as we count down the days to the August 8th general election. George Musamali, security analyst, thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
Welcome.
People, you're watching New Worldview. Thank you for staying with us. Like I mentioned, you're on the campaign trail of the different candidates. And right now, let me bring in Ben Kitili. He's at 64 Stadium on the trail of NASA leaders, I believe, in Eldoret. Ben Kitili?
Jina ni John B. Kerry Obara. Mina ngangania tiketi cha MCA Langas Ward kwa tiketi ya CCM. CCM!
Kitili, can you hear me?
Yes, indeed, Linda, I can hear you. It's quite noisy here, as you'd imagine. The 64 Stadium, the historic 64 Stadium, is starting to fill up as the NASA supporters here in Eldoret and across the county of Uasin Gishu converge here to listen to the NASA presidential candidate, Raila Odinga, to make one of his last speeches to this region. Of course, this is one of the regions where the NASA brigade will be seeking to, try and win as many seats, as many votes for the presidential poll as possible. So what we are expecting today is the campaign trail by the presidential candidates of NASA, Raila Odinga, to be making their way to this place. So Raila Odinga did start his campaigns today in a place called Tots, and then he made his way to Chepkorio, where my colleague Elvis Kosgei is right now, and he has just informed me that Raila Odinga has just left that place en route to the 64 Stadium where we are at. Musalia Mudavadi on the other side did start the NASA campaigns in Iten, in Nandi Hills rather, in the county of Nandi, and also will be making his way through Tarbo and then to this place. Kalonzo Musyoka has not been accompanying Raila Odinga on the campaign trail for the last few days or so. Is here as well, I am told. He also was in some place in the county of Elgeyo Marakwet. So the 3 leaders, and I understand the Bomet governor, Isaac Ruto, are en route to the 64 Stadium here, where the crowd, as you can see behind me, the 64 stadium is beginning to fill up. So we expect in the next 20 minutes or so, the NASA leaders, the NASA principals will be making their way here. The crowd is very expectant. They will be wanting to listen to what the NASA presidential candidate Raila Odinga has to say. He has been speaking very much about how he wants to unite this country, how he wants to break up those so-called strongholds, because the county of Uasin Gishu has been said to be a Jubilee stronghold. So the NASA Brigade will be wanting to garner as many votes as possible in about 12 days or so, Linda.
Yeah. Like you say, Kitili, the county of Uasin Gishu is largely perceived to be a Jubilee stronghold. And looking at some of the messages that some of the leaders there have been giving the residents, what is this one thing you think the NASA leaders probably will use as a rallying call to the residents there to be able to get at least a few votes if they can? Like you mentioned, that's a Jubilee stronghold.
Linda, I am really struggling to hear what you're saying, but I understand that NASA will be looking at Eldoret, because Eldoret is a bit cosmopolitan. That is where you find a lot of support for ODM in some places, like Kisumu Ndogo and such places. There's also some very good support for the Amani National Congress led by Musalia Mudavadi. So pundits say that is what the NASA Brigade will be looking to capitalize on. Of course, the Jubilee side will not be sleeping on their job, because they know that to replicate the performance they did get in 2013, where the Deputy President William Ruto did deliver the Uasin Gishu vote. So it will be a very interesting last few days as leaders from both sides of the political divide, that is the Deputy President and his brigade on the Jubilee side, and NASA presidential candidate Raila Odinga tried to make their pitch. Raila and NASA trying to pinch as much as possible from the North Rift, from the county of Uasin Gishu. The Jubilee side, Deputy President trying to consolidate this place, which has been supporting him almost fanatically for the last few days. And of course, another thing that has been playing out has been the gubernatorial race here in the county of Uasin Gishu between the Buzeki, that is Bundotich Zedekaya Kiprop, and the incumbent Jackson Mandago. Mandago, of course, running on Jubilee, and Buzeki as an independent, very closely tied affair, according to political pundits here. So that has also been informing how the presidential poll could go in about 12 days' time. Linda.